All right, here's an introduction to using vectors to describe lines. I'm going to try and do this all in Geometry Sketchpad, and we'll see how it goes. My freehanding ability on the computer is limited right now due to technology, but okay. So here's the deal. We have we want to create a line, and it turns out that the best data, the easiest data for us to create a line is going to be a point that the line's supposed to go through, and a vector that's supposed to indicate the direction of the line. So one way to say it is that it's supposed to go through P and be parallel to this vector. Another way, of course, to say it is just take this vector. Let's take this vector. I have to select the arrows separately. And I'm going to drag it over. I'm going to copy and drag it over. Now first I'm going to hide this point because I don't really need that. And I'm going to drag it over and put its base at P. Now, Sketchpad purists are going to be like, oh no, you should construct parallel lines, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that. So this, we want the line going through P in this direction, so let me just go ahead and draw that. Okay, I'll just freehand it, basically. Okay, so how could we do that? Well, what are the kinds of points that should be on this line? Well, P is certainly a point on the line, and the tip of this vector that now that we've moved it should be on here. Well, so we kind of want to add the point P to the vector V. Now that's legal, and I've mentioned at least briefly how that's legal, but the more official way to do it is we convert everything to vectors first, and then we add vectors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a vector with my little vector tool here. Oh, wait. Let me select my arrow tool. Making arrows, as far as I know, is surprisingly clunky in Geometry Sketchpad. There we go. Okay, so that is going to be the vector version of P. Okay, so let me just let me label that with like a lowercase p. Okay. So now if I add P and V, voila, I'm going to get a vector like this. Let's do that. Okay, that, and the tip of that vector will be on the line. That's little p plus v, and that should be on the line. Okay, so let me label that. Let me just put it in text, actually, just random text. So that's going to be p plus v. And I really should boldface those, because those are vectors. Okay, so that's on the line. Well, what else is on the line? What if I started with p, and then I added, and what if I just doubled v? So what if I created this vector? Go back to the arrow tool. Let's say I create a vector that goes from here and I'm just going to freehand it, roughly double v. Okay, and then I add that to P. Well, I'm going to create this vector. Oh, I don't have my arrow tool. So deselect, arrow tool, it's selected. Okay, so that's not what I wanted. Well, let's go back. As I said, this is an experiment. Freehanding would probably be better, but it's fun to try and use the computer. Okay, so here's another vector. This is P plus 2V. Let's boldface those guys. Remember, I would be putting vector arrows over everything. Oh, look, I can actually put the vector arrow over it, but whatever. Okay, so that's going to be on the line as well. And what about P plus 1/2 V? That would be in here. If I take a half V, that'll be a vector like this. Let's do that one more time. Let's do the arrow tool. And select that. And select that. And something like that. There's a half V. If I add that to P, this vector to P, then I'm going to get, let's see, I think I've still got the, yeah. And then that's going to be a vector from here to here. So this is going to be P plus 1/2 V. The tip of that's also on there. So I'm going to get a bunch of vectors, the tips of which are on the line. And of course, if I have a vector reading off the point at the tip, it just means changing angle brackets to round brackets. And so that's not going to be a problem. So when I have a vector, the upshot is that if I take P, promote it to be a vector, plus any number, and T is a common number here. Now that shouldn't be bold-faced. Okay. For for any real number t gives the vectors whose tips are on the desired line. And so this is going to be a really handy thing. It's a vector function of t, or it's a set of vectors, but we really want to think of it as a vector function of t. And we're actually going to think of it that way. We're going to call it r of t. And none of that should be boldface. Okay. So we're going to see this a lot. A variable vector based on t, and you can think of that as time. You can think of it as this is the path of a particle, that at time 0 it's here, at time 1/2 it's here, at time 1 it's here, at time 2 it's here, at time 3 it's going to be way out here. Maybe in the past it was over here. Time -1 it would be here, time -2 it would be here. And so this is going to be a very basic thing of creating a line out of a point and a vector that's supposed to go in the direction of that. Now, this connects very well to one of the problems we were doing before, where we were looking at like a point 2/3 of the way between 2 points. That's going to connect a little bit better probably to another video that I think you're ready to look at now.